Hey everybody, today we're in Millen, Georgia at Magnolia Springs State Park. So originally I thought this was only going to be a park about a spring, but it also turns out this was also a Civil War prison camp before it became a state park. So anyway, if you'd like to watch the history of it, it's getting ready to go because we just went in there. Very nice tour in there. If you ever come, I highly suggest going in there. And then we're going to look at everything else. So we will eventually get to the spring. So are you ready?
Yeah.
I am too, so let's go.
Use the right lane to turn onto Magnolia Springs Drive, then the destination is on your left. Arrived.
We have a lot of magnolia trees, so maybe that's why it's Magnolia Springs. So this is Magnolia Spring Confederate prison site. In the latter months of the Civil War, a gigantic stockade enclosing 42 acres was erected on this spot to confine thousands of prisoners of war held by the Confederate government at Andersonville Prison. This site was chosen because of the abundance of clear water supplied by Magnolia Spring and because of its proximity to the railroad at Lawtonville. The stockade was completed in October 1864 and evacuated 1 month later in advance of General Sherman's march to the sea. Although the prison was built to confine 40,000, only 10,299 prisoners were transferred here. And this says Camp Lawton, site of Camp Lawton, a Confederate military prison built in 1864 to relieve the overcrowded condition at Andersonville Prison in Macon County. Lawton Prison was a stockade enclosing 42 acres, 1,398 feet by 1,329 feet, considered to be the largest in the world. It was occupied October 10th, 1864, but was abandoned the following November 17th with the approach of Sherman's army. So we're gonna do the museum tour, and they're gonna give you a key in the office after you pay the fee to tour it. So this is Magnolia Springs History Center, Camp Lawton. They did have a ramp over there, but we're using the stairs. And it says the History Center is open from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Admission $2 per person. Ages 10 and under are free. And please proceed to Visitor Center for admission. Can. That says Crisis at Andersonville. That says New Patch at Andersonville. And this says a splendid stream. Why was Camp Lawton built here? Magnolia Springs State Park owes its existence to the spring. In the 20th century, the CCC selected this spot as an ideal location for a park. In the 19th century, the spring was the key reason for locating Camp Lawton, a Civil War prison camp here. The spring provided the prisoners with clean water for drinking and bathing, as well as washing away the human waste produced by over 10,000 prisoners. The spring was appreciated by the prisoners, as their own words attest. I guess you're supposed to go this way since this is the way the arrow is pointing. Finish back there. Yep. Oh, wow. So that one says constructed a new prison. And that was July to October of 1864. So he about scared me whenever I walked in here. But this was a Civil War era field desk. Field desks such as this one were a common sight during the Civil War. The office in a box was built to be easily transported from location to location and provided officers with storage space and a writing surface. A desk similar to this may have been used by General Winder, or it could be Winder, depends on how you pronounce it, as he traveled between Camp Sumter in Andersonville and Camp Lawton in Millen. So it says this is Camp Lawton as it may have appeared in 1864.
You get a better picture standing here.
I get a better picture over here?
No, right there.
Maybe so.
All right.
And that says Commander and Staff at Camp Lawton. And it says Camp Lawton, first impressions. When transferred from Andersonville, prisoners were put in rail cars and transported directly to Camp Lawton, called Millen by the diarist. But some were sent to Savannah and then on to Camp Lawton. Some of the features noted by the prisoners were the layout of the prison was very similar to Andersonville, although much larger. The logs making up the stockade were still covered in bark. They were hewn at Andersonville, and the water flowing from the spring just east of the stockade was considered far superior. And it says you can read below for what they had to say about the facility. Because if I read all this, we'd be in here all day. And that says parole star. The Confederates routinely tried to recruit prisoners and often offered perks such as money. Recruits, whom the Confederates called paroled Yanks, were often recruited for their skills such as carpentry or blacksmithing. Many parolees worked alongside the guards on burial detail. There were many reasons for accepting parole, including relief from the boredom of camp life, access to better food, opportunities to collect information, and the chance to escape. And it said, how did guard know which prisoners were paroled and those that were not? Parolees were given metal stars that they carried with them. They would show these stars to the guards as they approached the deadline at the gate. And that was how the star looked. That says Robert Knox Sneeden. The artist, many of the illustrations used in these exhibits were drawn by Robert Knox Sneeden. Little is known about Sneeden's life prior to the war. He worked as an illustrator for an architectural firm in New York before he enlisted. Having experience in creating measured drawings and having an eye for detail made Sneeden an ideal candidate for drawing maps for the Union Army during the war. Sneeden employed the same techniques in his drawings of the many places he saw during the war, including the prisons at Andersonville and Millen. Writing drawing supplies were in short supply in prison. However, Sneeden managed to acquire them. He also successfully hid his drawing and diary from Confederate guards. He used pitch pine gum to glue together pages of a book he owned to hide other drawings. And that's some of his comments down there. And that's from the Descendants. And it says election November 8th, 1864. And prison life had a detrimental effect on many of the prisoners, compromising their mental health. Rumors about prisoner exchanges that never came to fruition also impacted the sanity of some. Rarely was the tedium interrupted. However, one event occurred at Millen that was remembered by many of the prisoners. That event took place on Tuesday, November 8th, 1864. It was election day in the United States. The candidates, Abraham Lincoln and George B. McClellan. And that says cast your vote. And it says, how would you vote? Prisoners at Camp Lawton held a mock election. How do you think they voted? If you were a prisoner, how would you vote? Cast your ballot in the box. So,
That's how you would do it.
so that's the way you would vote right there. This says escape. Just as at Andersonville, healthy prisoners teamed up to dig tunnels under the stockade. And that's some clothes they would have wore. That says occupation and evacuation of Camp Lawton. This is the fate of the prisoners. On November 8, 1864, Camp Commander Vales reported that 10,229 prisoners of war had been received at Camp Lawton. More were put on trains at Andersonville on November 11, presumably arriving in Millen on the 12th. The true total of prisoners held at Camp Lawton will probably never be known. This is the fate of the prisoners. I wonder what Papa name would be in. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. See different names. This is archaeology. They do have stuff in that room. I think that's maybe a supply closet or something. And this right here says, almost 150 years later, although memories of Camp Lawton faded, the prison was not totally forgotten. Historians continue to write about it. However, it was not until 2005 that archaeologists began searching for the remnants of the prison. Archaeologists from the Georgia Department of Transportation assist the Georgia Department of Natural Resources staff in the search by providing remote sensing equipment and expertise to determine if there were traces of the wooden stockade remaining in the ground. It had long been feared that development of the park by the CCC had destroyed the evidences. was also believed that few, if any, artifacts had been left by the prisoners, who had very few possessions and had occupied the site for a very short period of time. Over the next 7 years, selected areas of the park were examined trying to locate the elusive stockade. This is called "They Have Left Us Here to Die." And it says, there's a poem right there, apparently composed by a prisoner at Andersonville, reflects the hopelessness and despair felt by many of the prisoners. So that is a medical kit right there. This says health. Conditions at Millen were better than Andersonville, but prisoners continued to die from inadequate food, lack of medicine, and exposure to the elements. The cold, driving rains of early November 1864 added to the physical and mental stress placed on the prisoners. There was a constant cycle of hope and despair fueled by persistent but false rumors of prisoner exchanges. This led many prisoners to helplessness, mental depression, and in some cases, insanity. And it says disease. Many prisoners arrived wounded from battle. If the wounds were not already infected, an infection could rapidly develop due to the squalid conditions of the camp. If left untreated, the infection could become gangrenous, leading to amputation or death. In addition to infections, camp conditions exposed prisoners to biting insects, particularly mosquitoes, which spread malaria and yellow fever. The poor quality of food and unsanitary conditions caused many to suffer from anoscara, diarrhea, dysentery, and scurvy. And that was some of the prisoners there that were released. And this was the rations. Once the prisoners had built shelter, their second priority was finding food. Upon arrival, prisoners were grouped into messes. The members of these messes relied upon each other for their day-to-day survival and would often share shelter and cooking utensils as well as pool rations. At first, rations were more plentiful at Camp Lawton than at Andersonville, but that changed as the days passed. The stream running through Camp Lawton provided the prisoners with drinking and washing water. It also provided plants and animals to supplement the daily rations. So they had 2/3 pint of cornmeal, 3 tablespoons of rice or black beans or sorghum molasses, 4 ounces of uncooked beef with bone, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And that only provided between 530 and 680 calories per day. This says economics. Many of the prisoners, especially the new prisoners referred to as fresh fish, had money and other items they could trade for a wide variety of supplies, including food, whiskey, and tobacco. Sellers of these items were called sutlers. Sutlers came from both sides of the conflict, Union and Confederate alike. They set up their shops along one of the streets within the prison known as Market Street. Dried cod. Those who had been in prison for a long time could acquire money by making cans, cups, and other items from salvaged or stolen materials, or they could try their luck at gambling. Food was the most sought after item. Shows Sherman's campaign, the March to the Sea. This says trade. In his diary, J. Everett Alden, a prisoner at Andersonville, complied a list of commodities that were for sale in the prison. After the war, Robert Sneeden typed a copy of the list and placed it in one of his scrapbooks. Here is what items cost in Confederate money and the exchange rates for silver and gold coins, as well as greenbacks, which was U.S. dollars. And it says, what could you buy for $20 Confederate? And that shows the price list right there. It says seeking shelter. The Confederacy had two types of prisons. Some prisons were repurposed buildings, such as Libby Prison in Richmond, Virginia, which had been a tobacco warehouse before the war. The other type was an open-air stockade like Andersonville and Millen, where prisoners constructed their own shelters from items they had with them or purchased from settlers' merchants. They also scavenged materials such as tree branches and found within the stockade walls. These shelters are also referred to as shebangs. Never heard that before. The first prisoners to arrive at Camp Lawton were fortunate to find large quantities of building materials inside the stockade. By the time the last POWs arrived, these had all been appropriated. That'd been interesting thing. They had a body in there, you know, like a mannequin. It'll give you a good scare. And that's a replica of the log cabin which once stood at Magnolia Springs State Park. And I guess that would be a checkerboard or chess. And it says much of what we know about Camp Lawton comes from the diaries or reminiscences of survivors. While some of the prisoners complied memories that were published after the war, some actually kept diaries which they wrote on scraps of paper that they found. They concealed the finished pieces in the linings of their clothing or in the soles of their shoes. Many of these notes were given to prisoners who were being exchanged so that they could be sent on to the family members for safekeeping. The experiences that you will read about in the following exhibits are, whenever possible, written in those prisoners' own words. Oh, you did? I didn't know they had lights. Turning on all the lights. I wonder if that's easier to see with lights on. Oh, it is.
Okay.
This is an African American perspective. This one says enslavement in Burke County. Burke County was one of Georgia's most agriculturally productive counties in the antebellum period. In 1860, it was the top producer of corn, the third producer of sweet potatoes, and the third producer of cotton, making its farms the most valuable in Georgia. And 70.6% of Burke County's population in 1860 was enslaved. Only 9 of the Georgia's 132 counties at the time had such a large proportion of enslaved people to white people. Yeah, that helped a lot. And it says the images on this panel show the 1860 census information for Bat Jones Plantation, where the Confederate government built Camp Lawton. Bat Jones enslaved 121 people, none of those whom are named. The only names that appears is Bat Jones. The census taker only recorded the age, race, and sex of the enslaved people. And of the 121 people, there were 62 women and 59 men, 59 individuals under age 18, 44 individuals under age 12, 5 individuals under age 1, only 10 individuals over the age of 50, no women over age 58. And it says the lack of elderly enslaved people tells us a lot about the physical toll on enslavement. And these were the Civil War looms.
Welcome to beautiful Magnolia Springs State Park.
And we got prisoner exchange.
Welcome to beautiful Magnolia Springs State Park.
Confederacy responds to blank soldiers.
Magnolia Springs flows out of the ground just a short distance from this
The dangers black soldiers face. First, surrendering black soldiers' imprisonment was not a near certainty in the same way it was for white prisoners of war. Captured African American soldiers sometimes faced re-enslavement. When Confederate General John Bell Hood's army captured the 44th Regiment USCT, they returned many black soldiers to their former enslavers.
the relationship between state and federal governments and the economy.
And this says prison camps and enslaved labor. After the exchange system collapsed, prisoner population skyrocketed. And Mom got that thing in there going, so I have to talk over it. And it says, although the majority of the prisoners at Camp Lawton were white, some black soldiers were imprisoned here. For instance, Private John McNeith of the 45th USCT was transferred to Camp Lawton from Andersonville on November 11, 1864. Smokey Bear says, remember, only you can prevent forest fires. It says the CCC boys, in order to enroll in the CCC, an individual was required to be a male between the ages of 18 and 25, unemployed and unmarried. Often the family of the enrollee was receiving local relief. Enrollment was voluntary and men signed up at the government offices. After passing a physical exam, the CCC boy was required to serve a minimum of 6 months with the option of re-enlisting for a total of 4 periods, which was 2 years. They worked 40 hours per week and were paid $30 per month. Of this, they were required to send $22 to $25 home. Equally important, the CCCers received food, clothing, housing, and medical care. Many of these young men gained weight during their stint as a result of eating 3 meals a day. And that shows tools that were commonly used by FDR's Tree Army, which is discussed over here. And it says FDR's Tree Army in 1933, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was inaugurated as president, the United States was in the grips of the Great Depression. About 25% of the population was unemployed. Many people were hungry and there was little hope. Roosevelt implemented the New Deal programs to create employment opportunities, including the Civilian Conservation Corps, which was the CCC, whose purpose was to conserve the natural resources of the country and use employable young men to perform the conservation work. The result was FDR's Tree Army, charged with reforesting large tracts of land throughout the country, as well as establishing parks. And he had very strong ties to Georgia. It says, in 1924, FDR visited Warm Springs, Georgia for the first time seeking a cure for polio. He had been told about another victim's recovery after swimming in the pools of the Meriwether Inn. He arrived in October and began swimming in the spring-fed pools at once. For the first time since he had become paralyzed, Roosevelt could move his left leg. He was so impressed by the therapeutic effects of the pools, he eventually purchased the inn and its property. Here, he established Warm Springs Rehabilitation Institute, which exists to this day. The pools were not the only thing in Georgia that made an impression on FDR. He saw Georgians struggling to survive in Warm Springs and the surrounding countryside. Health problems, lack of education, poor working conditions, low wages, harmful architectural practices, joblessness, and oppression were all motivations for the New Deal programs like the CCC. And hopefully you can hear that because Mama turned the TV back on. So I don't know if I was able to talk over that or not. And it says the CCC in Magnolia Springs State Park is not the only park created by the CCC in Georgia. It has 10 CCC developed parks. So in South Carolina we have 16. So this says exploring with old maps. Prisoner Robert Knox Sneeden's illustrated plan of Camp Lawton may not have been completely accurate, yet first-hand sketches often provide vital clues about the layout of historic sites. Based on Sneeden's drawing, standing at this point, the fort lay up the hill to the left and to the right. The 42-acre prisoner stockade encompassed almost all of the picnic area, the aquarium, and a few of the hatchery ponds. It tells you about the southern Magnolia, which is right there. Okay, now we're over here at a little kiosk. This says Civil War prisons. Could a voice be given to those silent grooves and they become witness of what they have seen and heard, what revelations would be made of things they can never be known. This was Andersonville, which was also known as Camp Sumter. Before us were forms that had once been active and erect, stalwart men, now nothing but mere walking skeletons covered with filth and vermin. Many of our men, in the heat and intensity of their feeling, exclaimed with earnestness, "Can this be hell? God protect us." And I'll have to say, if you've never been in the South, it is hot as hell. Definitely don't want to go there. many, many days. I say I feel like I'm walking through the gates of hell whenever it's so hot. This is building Camp Lawton. Proceed as directed to select a site for a new prison. You will use sound discretion in your selection, conferring with reliable men in the vicinity as to the help for the location. And it says Camp Lawton, the Confederacy's largest prison. I presume it is the largest prison in the world. I can't read all this because we'll be here all day and we got like 4 parks to visit today, or that's the plan. Diaries of Death and Survival. At my suggestion, Surgeon White consented that I should keep the death book of our men who die and are buried by men who are paroled for this purpose. And this was General Sherman's march and the evacuation of Camp Lawton. Utter destruction of its roads, houses, and people will cripple their military resources. I can make the march and make Georgia howl.
He burned everything in the south.
Yeah. This is the Fort Lawton Trail, and it says, please do not climb the earthworks. I made it up that little tiny hill. This says Fort Lawton Confederate Prison Camp as it appeared in 1865. And this says guarding Camp Lawton. Union prisoner Private Robert Knox Sneeden drew these images of Camp Lawton. The rebel fort where you now stand was one of 3 redoubts, or earthen hilltop forts connected by a larger defensive enclosure. It says the stockade was located down the hill where the park's visitor center and other buildings now stand. Steen wrote that the fort overlooked the interior, while several pieces of the cannon were visible over the ramparts. So I'm gonna guess everybody that watches the channel would know what a magnolia is, but just in case you don't, this is a magnolia. It's a beautiful flower. It's on a big, tall, luscious tree. Anyway, they're really pretty. It says this is the woodpecker trail. We do not intend to walk the trail, but we did came come to see the spring. So hopefully it's over here. I see water. And there's the spring right there. Look how beautiful that is. Oh, there's my great blue heron flying too. So this says Magnolia Springs. You are now standing about 20 feet from the most important feature in this nearly 950-acre park. So important is this feature that the park and even the town of Millen may never have been created without it. Reportedly, the name originated from the tremendous southern magnolia growing near the springs, giving the park its present name. The spring delivers almost 9 million gallons of crystal clear water each day. Long before Europeans landed in North America, the native peoples and the animals they hunted knew of the spring's cold, refreshing waters. Just south of the fall line in Georgia, the spring flows from the Ocala aquifer through an area mostly comprised of limestone riddled with sinkholes. Most of the water is delivered from a depth of 250 feet, with an average temperature of 72 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the year. During the war between the states from 1863 to 1865, this was the site of Camp Lawton, the largest prisoner of war camp in the entire Confederacy. This site was chosen because there was plenty of local timber for building. The soil drained quickly, a railway was nearby, and most of the spring supplies fresh, clean water, which helped to keep thousands of prisoners alive and free of diseases. The entire area has been shaped around the springs seen before you. If you think about it, most of the large inland cities of towns can be found at or near a river, lake, or spring. So you can see a turtle over there, and you can see the fish swimming away in the water. Yeah, I see that one. It's so clear. Oh, there is an alligator. There is one. How appropriate it's near its sign. Somebody threw some trash down there. I don't know why they do that kind of stuff. So I did watch a YouTube video this morning before I came here, and in it was like a year ago. It says they have up to 20 alligators here that call this place home. We see one, so there's probably 19 more somewhere. I think we're gonna walk this way a little bit, and then we're gonna go that way. And if you can't hear anything good on this video, do have to apologize, but they're cutting grass. And also earlier, whenever Mom turned on the TV in the museum. Say that was like the best sign ever. Those darn mosquitoes. They will get you, definitely. a pretty bridge over there. It's a nice little area as well right here. Yeah. That's the trail right there, marked with the red blazes on the trees. Mom has just informed me that she is melting. It's still like 82 degrees right now, so that's not even melt status right now.
Well,
Your makeup's not running yet, so you still look good.
yes, it is.
Not that I can see.
I'm hot.
You're hot. Well, you can't take a cool off dip in that water right there. There's alligators in it.
And turtles too. That one.
And fish, and no telling what else. So the alligator has changed position since we were last over here. I am moseying over here because I want to see this bridge. Ooh, look at those birds. Oh, you can see all the birds over there. That's where they went. Great blue herons over there. The white birds are over there. It is like crazy the amount of fish that's down there. I would like to point out, because y'all know, if you watch my videos, that I have yet to catch a fish since I'm a grown adult. But I can see them. I just haven't caught any yet. We went fishing again the other day and my line got tangled up, so I've got to fix that first before I can attempt anything else. But I can't fish in Georgia anyway because I'm only licensed in South Carolina. Look at those big ones down there. This is crazy. That is just humongous fish. I was hoping we'd see more alligators, but it might be too hot for them. They might have been out this morning if we could have got here a little bit earlier. But this was a 3-hour drive from the house. And that says no one beyond this point. Don't have to worry about that. I do not break the rules at all. There's some more of the water. And they do have picnic tables here and all kind of grills. They have a playground up there. They got picnic shelters. This is a nice park. And there's not a lot of people here. Yep. And that's a playground for ages 2 to 5. Oh, that's a dam over there. Mm-hmm. Says that is a group shelter. They must have bike rentals. Didn't she say they had bike rentals? Because they got a bunch of bicycles over there. The shelter over there was where the limestone trail is at, which is I think it's somewhat like Santee State Park in South Carolina because they have limestone and they have sinkholes here. That was the dump station right there if you for camping. That appears to be the trash cans to put your trash in. Now she did tell us in the visitor center about the cottages and stuff, so we're coming back here to look at them if we can see them, to see if this would be a place we'd like to stay in the future, because so far I have really enjoyed this park. I saw an alligator, so that was a plus right there. Yeah, they have a picnic shelter there as well.
And they got plenty of tables.
They do. It's a nice park.
They got grills out here. Get in, come back. So I'm just checking it out, see if I want to visit, you know?
It looks like the cottages are getting ready to come up now. They look really nice. I just have to excuse all the stuff on my dashboard. I got the pass up there. I got ducks up there.
Spiders.
Yep.
That's a good view of the lake.
That is a nice view. Oh, look at that one.
I'm gonna go back to where the
I
campground.
guess you can drive back there to where the lake's at.
We'll see. And up there it says Miami.
Oh, did it?
That lake. Is it right there? Oh, it's kind
I think that's as far as we can go. They do have a campsite over there that you can see some campers. It says on. Sounds good.
That's your campsite.
Yeah. We guess that'd be like the bathhouse over there, and they got a little Linden library over there. Free library, whatever you want to call it. Looks like they got like a little amphitheater down there, and they got paddle boats, they got some kayaks. That is so beautiful.
They got a thing down there to clean fish, ain't it?
I don't know. That is a beautiful lake right there. Huh? Here's a closer look at the cabins. They're on my side of the car now. I'd stay in one of them.
I think this is the cutest one. I know it's
You like that
all
one?
built about the same. They are built about the same. But I like that color.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one too.
I think I like the blue one better.
Oh, I like that one because this is a handicap one.
Oh yeah.
I think
So,
the rest of them
that one right there is handicap accessible. So before we leave, I did see this briefly whenever we were coming in. And it says this property has been placed on the National Register of Historic Places by the United States Department of the Interior. And it's also a Blue Star Memorial, a tribute to the armed forces who have defended the United States of America, sponsored by the East Georgia Flower Show Judges Council in cooperation with Magnolia Springs State Park and the Garden Club of Georgia Incorporated. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up the video for Magnolia Springs State Park, and that was in Millen, Georgia. It was a beautiful state park. How did you like it?
It was good.
Nice. I was impressed with that museum. That was well put together, and I did enjoy the spring. I'm happy we got to see one alligator. One's better than none. The rest of them might have been hanging out with those birds over there, and we know why the fish was hanging out where they're at, because there's no fishing off that bridge. So it says this park is best known for its crystal clear springs flowing 7 to 9 million gallons each day, with the water eventually flowing into the Ogeechee River. A pretty boardwalk spans the 67-degree
Stay in the middle lane.
where visitors may watch for alligators, turtles, birds, and other wildlife. We saw all of those. A 28-acre lake with accessible dock is available for fishing and boating. Numerous picnic shelters and tables are perfect locations for reunions and parties. During the Civil War, the site was called Camp Lawton and served as the world's largest prison. Today, little remains of the stockade. However, the earthen breastworks may still be seen. So just in case you would like to camp there, they do have 26 tent trailer RV sites with water and electrical hookups, picnic tables, and grills. What we can see up there.
Use the left lane to turn onto Big Buckhead Church Road.
There are 9 fully equipped cottages that feature fireplaces, utensils, linens, heat, and air conditioning. Dogs are allowed only in select units with advanced reservations, and reservations are accepted up to 11 months in advance. You got picnicking. More than 50 tables and 8 covered shelters encourage visitors to enjoy picnicking in the park. Oh, there's sunflowers up here.
Turn left.
Maybe we can see the sunflowers. Mom gets excited about sunflowers. Not let me just turn the camera in that direction off of me for a second.
Lord, it's so pretty.
In 4.8 miles, turn right onto Old Louisville Road.
They
I haven't turned the camera back yet. All right, so let's hope that took. There's group shelters. One enclosed shelter seats 40 to 100 and is perfect for parties. You got a Pioneer campground. Some facility includes a large area for tents, no RVs, water, a pit toilet, cold water showers, and Adirondack style chairs, and reservations are required for that. They have boating and fishing, canoe and boat rental, Camp Lawton Museum. Highly have to suggest doing that. It's $2 a person to get in. I think it's worth it. You got some nature trails. You got the Woodpecker Woods Nature Trail, the Beaver Trail, the Lime Sink Trail, Fort Lawton Historic Trail. We walked that because that was very short, or at least what we walked was short. And Canoe Kayak Trail. And it says, please do not feed the wildlife. And also stay on the trails. So they were very nice in the visitor center. Gave us this lovely paper right here that tells the information about the cottages. You might look at us and tell we do not camp. We do not. We will rent a cabin though somewhere. In South Carolina we call them cabin, but in Georgia they're cottages. Cottage does sound very nice. So cottage 1, 2, 3, and 4 has an occupancy of 6 people maximum. You got 2 bedrooms, 1 master with king, and 1 bedroom with 2 queen beds, and you got 2 bathrooms. Cabin number 1 is dog friendly, and that's a $50 pet fee, 2 dogs maximum. And cabin number 1 is also ADA accessible. Cottage number 5 can hold up 10 people, and it has 3 bedrooms, 1 master with king, and 2 bedrooms with 2 queen beds and 2 bathrooms. The nightly rates regular are $200 for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number 5 would be $250. The holiday would be $225 for the first 4, and number 5 would be $275. And during Masters Week, 1, 2, 3, and 4, $295, and the other one is $325 a night. Cabin 6 and 7 will hold 8 people, and it has 2 bedrooms, and that's 4 beds, 2 per bed, and 2 bathrooms. Number 6 is ADA accessible and also dog friendly, and those rent for $175 during the regular time, $190 for holiday, and $275 during Masters Week. Cottage number 9 has a maximum of 8 people. It's a 2 bedroom with 3 beds, 2 per bunk. Well, 2 per bed. Then 1 bunk bed that sleeps 2, and you got 2 bathrooms, and it's also ADA accessible. And the rates for that during the regular is $175, holiday is $290, and Masters Week is $295. And cottage number 8 has a maximum of 4 people. It's got 2 bedrooms, and it is 2 beds, 2 per bed. You got 1 bathroom, and it's dog friendly as well. The regular rate for that is $155. During the holiday is $190, and Masters Week is $250. So that's the cheapest one, but that only got 1 bathroom. We like to have 2 bathrooms where we go anything can happen. You got water and electrical campground information. The premium campsites are 6, 9, 12, 15, 16 is a back site, 21 and 24, and the nightly rate for that is $38. Standard campsites, with the exception of site 16, are all back-end sites, and the nightly rate for that is $34. Sites 6, 7, 13, 24, and 50, well, not 50, but are 50 amp. And all campsites must comply with one of the following: 1 motorhome, 2 automobiles, and 1 tent. 1 pop-up trailer, travel trailer, 2 automobiles, and 1 tent. You got the walk-in campsites are $22 per night. The Pioneer group campsites are $65 per night. Picnic shelter is $35 a day. And the group shelter
In 1 mile,
seats
turn right onto Old Louisville
100
Road.
people, and you can rent that Monday through Thursday for $100. Friday through Sunday is $230, and it includes an outdoor grill, tables, chairs, and a kitchen. You can rent your kayaks and canoes, $15 for 2 hours, or $25 for 4 hours. Pedal boats are $15 per hour, or $25 for 2 hours. The bicycles are $10 for 2 hours. So, if I have not covered anything your heart desires to know about, you can go to GA State Parks. I believe it's .org. I could be wrong about that, but look up Magnolia Springs State Park, and it'll tell you all the information. So that's gonna do it for this one. We hope you enjoyed. We surely enjoyed visiting that park. Now we're heading to another one because we're trying to utilize the last couple of days of Mom's Georgia State Parks Pass until we renew it. Don't know when we'll renew it, but I'm pretty sure we will, because I have enjoyed the state parks in this state so far. So with that, we shall say toodaloo. See you later. Please subscribe. and we'll see you somewhere else. So bye.
Turn right onto